it's like you've got an intellectual thread, okay, which begins with the Big Bang at the beginning of the universe. And from the Big Bang, you then go through and start forming heavy elements, and then finally you start forming stars and galaxies. Don't ask me which order we form the stars and galaxies in, that's still up for grabs. You form the stars and the galaxies and you form the planets. And once you have the planets, then on those planets we believe that life will begin in low forms and then gradually evolve to higher forms of life, if you like, or more intelligent forms of life, finally ending up with ourselves. So there's this, I mean, it's an amazing achievement of 3 centuries of science now that we can trace it all the way through like that. But it's a story that has holes in it. And one of the real holes is, how did the planet on which you're sitting come into existence, right? We know, roughly we think, how you can begin to form stars. That stars begin, you have a big cloud of gas, and the gas then begins to collapse down, and as the gas collapses down, it will flow in and begin to form stars. Those stars probably start off spinning really quite rapidly, and they have disks of material around them. And we believe it's in those disks of material that the planets themselves actually begin to form. But there's all sorts of problems about doing that, because if you imagine having this mass of dust and gas around a star, you've got to somehow collect the dust together and begin to form it into planets. And it's fine to kind of stick little particles of dust together, but how actually you then grow those particles of dust into big rocks without the rocks smashing into each other and breaking each other apart, okay, is an open question, right? How you actually manage to get planets like our own so they collect enough water in the early stages so they too can then begin to support life is all open to question. So there's this big area, if you like, of science which deals with how we create the stars and the planets around them, which I think is still largely up for grabs. We thought we began to understand it, I think, before we discovered planets in around other stars. But now it's really quite unclear how that holds together. And my own work, I'm an observation astrophysicist, so that means that I use the big modern facilities for observing the universe, either big telescopes out in island sites where it's particularly clear, or spacecraft orbiting the Earth if, for example, you want to collect X-rays to study these objects. And it's bringing those data together in such a way that we can begin to piece together that story of exactly what it is that allows the planets to form and how it is the stars which are going to provide the energy to support life form, and bring that together in a story that we can then begin to understand whether it's outrageous accident that we have the solar system that we see today, or whether actually it's a perfectly natural outcome of the processes, of the physics that underlie star and planet formation.